Hello and welcome to Maximum Disc, a show where I celebrate physical media and talk about films that I own on Blu Ray and 4K Blu Ray. I'm James Adamson. I'm a co-host on the Double Reel Film Podcast. If you like this chat about physical media, please do check out Double Reel. It's a magazine-style podcast made by people who love films as much as you do. We talk about various films and topics, and we think if you check into any episode, you'll come away with a bunch of great recommendations of things to watch instead of just doing what the algorithm tells you. That's the sales pitch for the podcast. Now we're talking about physical media. Why does that matter? Well, in a nutshell, if you care about a film, you need to own it. You can't rely on the streamers. They might not make it available. You'd be surprised how many things aren't there if you're looking for a specific title. It won't be or isn't likely to be the correct version, the director's cut, the special edition that makes the film properly work. And it's not going to look and sound its best on a compressed internet file. So that's why, I'm promoting, owning it on a disc, on a shelf, so you can pick it up and watch it anytime you want and watch it in the right version. Every episode I talk about one film from my collection. Obviously, you want to know the video and audio quality. Is it a good transfer of the original film? Does it, show up your home cinema system as well as you'd like? So I do go into that, not in the ultimate technical detail that some people do, but I think I give you a good impression of that. I also like to cover the background to the film, my relationship to it, how I came to watch it, love it, own it, all that sort of thing. And at the end, I'll just sort of round it up and say whether I think it's an essential purchase. Now, you've got to make your own mind up about that, but hopefully I can help and see if it's something you're going to add to your collection. So today I'm talking about Strange Days on Blu Ray. Strange Days came out in 1995. It's a cyberpunk techno-crime thriller set at the eve of the new millennium. So it's a slightly futuristic film, set in the future then, set in the past if you're watching it now. It's directed by Kathryn Bigelow from a script co-written by James Cameron and Jay Cox. Kathryn Bigelow is known for a number of muscular thrillers these days, most recently Zero Dark 30, Detroit, A House of Dynamite and The Hurt Locker, the latter of which won her the Best Director Oscar, the first woman to do so. In the mid-90s, she was most known for adrenaline-fueled action thrillers centered around male relationships, especially the iconic Point Break. James Cameron, of course, needs no introduction, although younger viewers might need to be informed that before the days of Titanic and the Avatar franchise, he was responsible for some of the greatest action blockbusters of all time, like Aliens and the first two Terminator films. Jay Cox, the screenwriter, is best known for a number of screenplays he did for Martin Scorsese, including The Age of Innocence, Gangs of New York, and Silence. He also wrote the screenplay for the recent Dylan biopic, A Complete Unknown. The cast includes sort of in the main roles, Ralph Fiennes, Angela Bassett, Juliette Lewis. You also have prominent supporting roles for the likes of Tom Sizemore, Michael Wincott, Vincent D'Onofrio. It's a stacked cast for a 1990s film, all looking about as 1990s as they have ever looked. The cinematography is by Matthew F. Leonetti. He's a prolific director of photography who worked on a wide variety of films. The first kind of couple of paragraphs of his wiki entry is a good sample of his CV, actually. Poltergeist, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Weird Science, Jagged Edge, Strange Days, and Star Trek First Contact. Pretty as varied as it gets, really. The sound, as always, was by a large team, the leading members of which were Gloria S. Borders, Phil Benson, and Gary Rydstrom. The score mixes sort of composed music by a composer with a range of songs on the soundtrack, with everything from world music, alternative rock, trip hop, and metal. The score itself is by Graham Revell, who's worked with everyone from Wes Craven to Wim Wenders, and had just done The Crow prior to coming on to Strange Days. Prior to Revell's involvement, Michael Kamen was working on the film briefly, but was then replaced. In terms of awards and nominations, this film is pretty unloved, actually. It divided critics and audiences and was a box office flop. Got very little love at any of the real award ceremonies. The only awards of information I can see looking it up is 2 wins from 6 nominations. Those wins were at the Saturn Awards, which are genre-specific about kind of horror, fantasy and sci-fi. So Angela Bassett won for Best Actress, Kathryn Bigelow for Best Director. Now, quick summary of what the film's about. It's set in Los Angeles in 1999. It's the eve of the new millennium, which if you're around at the time, the idea of the millennium, the end of the century, what was a big thing for a while. So it's set 4 years in the future from the date of the film's release. It's about a lot of things, but the main plot line revolves around Ralph Fiennes' character, Lenny Nero. He's a disgraced ex-vice cop who was thrown off the force, and now he trades in the black market for illegal futuristic virtual reality recordings called SQUID. That's an acronym. The recordings and playback are plugged directly into the cerebral cortex, so people record their real experiences, plugged into their brains, and users plug those recordings into their heads so they can see and feel everything that happened. Similar to other stories that use this device, like various episodes of Black Mirror, a lot of these recordings are sort of violent and or sexual, and it's about people's desire to feel the things that happen at like the worst or most taboo moments. Lenny pines for his ex-girlfriend, the singer Faith, played by Juliette Lewis. His best friend Max, a fellow ex-cop, has been paid by Faith's sort of controlling and coercive manager to keep her under surveillance. His other friend Mace, played by Angela Bassett, is a driver and bodyguard who helps him with the more dangerous parts of his job and has unrequited feelings for Lenny, which he doesn't know about. A former friend of Faith, a sex worker of which Faith used to be, is being chased by two cops who are trying to kill her. She has an explosive SQUID recording which could tip an already edgy city into full-blown riots. She gets a message to Lenny that she and Faith are in danger and tries to get the recording to him but goes astray. He goes to confront Faith about it, who rejects him, saying it's just him looking for an excuse to get back with her. Then everything escalates as a mysterious killer is murdering women, including Faith's friend, and sending recordings of the killing to Lenny. The police start trying to kill him and Mace, and he wonders what conspiracy is behind all this and who he can really trust. So it's very cyberpunk, it's very neo-noir, it's very 90s, it's very intense, and it's very Kathryn Bigelow. The film is very violent and wild and explicit. It was subjected to cuts by the British film censors at the time, who were still quite restrictive. The whole thing is very wild and crazy and comes off like the storyline of a Dream Theater concept album. And everything I've just said is why I love this film. I think this is fantastic. So my background of this film, it goes back to Kathryn Bigelow. I saw Blue Steel first, then Near Dark. Liked them very much. I loved Point Break as well. I heard about Strange Days in the build-up to it going on. I thought it was right up my street, but it was buried on release. I didn't get to see it. I'm not sure if it got shown anywhere great. It had already flopped in America, and back then that meant that the film would often get just dropped. So I didn't get to see it until a few years later on video. I absolutely loved it. It's really sealed the deal for me on Kathryn Bigelow, and over time I got more and more into this film, feeling like it was a film made just so completely tailored to all of my favourite things. Bigelow's career progressed eventually with films like The Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30. She remains one of my favourite directors, but Strange Days was always the film I kept going back to. I bought a Blu Ray of it, the UK version, some years ago, and it's always been a prized part of my collection. I recently bought another version of Witchmore later, but somehow this film gets overlooked among her work, and that fact seems to make me love it even more. So now let's talk about the disc. The original disc I bought, the original Blu-ray I bought anyway, was the UK edition Blu-ray, released in 2017 by a company I haven't really heard of outside of this film called Medium Rare, or one word. Now, I wasn't aware at the time, but this was a controversial release of the Blu-ray. It ignored a better Blu-ray version and transfer that had come out before it, and instead did a relatively inexpensive digital spruce-up of an old source used for the DVD. At the time, I was just happy to have any physical media of this film to stop it being lost to time. It's not streaming anywhere legal in the UK right now. Then when I was reading up on the film in preparation for discussing it here, I found out about that controversy. There aren't many reviews of the British disc, but the ones that I found were scathing of the video quality and the fact that they didn't try and submit an uncut version to the BBFC now that the people in charge have some common sense. That's more common to do nowadays. You'll often see films that were like an 18 back then, downgraded to a 15 and the cuts removed, and now that the censors are a bit more pragmatic about things. It was called lazy, it was called cheap, it was called the worst visual kind of transfer that the reviewer had seen in a long time. So really scathing. So I looked around, and the better version that everyone mentions was available relatively inexpensively. So I got the German release of the 20th anniversary edition. This came out in 2015. It's uncut. It's a restored and remastered HD transfer. Everyone's much more complimentary about that one, so I got that disc. So I'm going to talk about the German disc in the main, but I will compare it to the British disc because I did look at both ahead of talking about it here, so I will cover that as well to an extent. So, video quality. The tech specs for this film, which I sort of usually mention at the start here, they're a little complicated. It was shot in Super 35 film with an intended 2:39:1 aspect ratio. A variety of cameras were used, including Arriflex and Leonetti, several others as well. There's quite a lot of different filming techniques at work in this film. Different cameras used for different things. For example, the point of view shots for the squid recordings are framed differently, look differently to the main image where the sort of the inverted commas real life action of the film takes place. The prints that were made of the film were 35mm anamorphic. I guess it's kind of analogous to Panavision, but I think it's Super 35 is apparently very popular in the 90s because you've got a bigger image and you could shoot more footage more cheaply than in normal 35. What does that say? The film looks very 90s, that's what I would say, and it looks very Kathryn Bigelow. So in terms of the Blu Ray, the German disc, as I mentioned, this is wonderfully sharp and vivid. Bear in mind, though, the image is sort of quite smoky at times because of the way it's been shot. There's a lot of night shooting. There's a lot of shooting in kind of nightclubs. There are often different levels of focus applied. There are big shots of like a New Year's party being seen up on screens or through television screens and then in real life, as it were. So there's all sorts of stuff going on. But with a really good clear picture, you get a really nice distinction between real life, so to speak, and the squid recordings, as I said. You've got the LA streets at day and especially at night. Most of this takes place at night. You've got grungy clubs contrasting with luxury hotels and upscale venues. You've got neon nights contrasting with sunny days. You've got this big set piece at the Millennium Party at the end. When you're doing a lot of night shooting, we'll start having conversations about the quality of the blacks that you can see on the screen. Is it clear and sharp enough to still see everything? And it's really good. It's really well contrasted. It's really nicely done. It's not 4K, but it's a really strong image. There's a couple of shots of like people looking at their watch or like Lenny Nero's face, and it's really natural, but also very detailed. The British version, when I did look at it, it is softer. It's not as natural looking. The German version is better, and I'm glad I got it. I wouldn't say it's as bad as the reviews suggest. I mean, this film's a really spectacularly good-looking film, and it still looks good on that image, I think. But I think there is a difference between someone using all the DNR and other digital stuff to kind of clean up a not very good source rather than going back to a better source. And you can see a better, clearer image with the German Blu-ray. So the German is better, and focusing on that, it's a really, really good video piece. The other thing that's important to mention between the two is that the cuts that they made were to some scenes of sexual violence. The cuts are classic old school BBFC pearl clutching. David Furman was the guy in charge, and he had this absolute obsession that people would watch this stuff and get off on the sexual violence aspect of it. If you can read articles in which many of the other people working at the British board at the time objected to what Furman was doing. He felt it's quite obvious that it wasn't trying to titillate anyone, and it made sense in the story and was wrong to be cut. But Furman wasn't having it. So the full version isn't intended to turn anyone. It shows the true horror of the voyeurism Lenny deals in, which is something he has to confront about himself. So it's better to see the uncut version, see the film that was intended. That's what you get with the German film. You also get all the visual sort of splendor that Kathryn Bigelow's trying to get across. And this film is all about overload, sensory overload, visual overload, story overload. So the best possible image is what you should be looking for, and that's the German version, and it is really good. The original sound mix used both Dolby Digital and digital DTS sound. This is the DTS 5.1 sound you get on here. It's decent on the British one. It's really good on the German version. The best challenge, or the biggest challenge, is that there's a blaring music combining with dialogue. There's a lot of scenes in nightclubs. You want to hear the kind of the chord striking and the noise and the car chases and cars smashing through gates and cars smashing into water and blowing up and all sorts of stuff, and all of that sound is a big challenge, and it's on the go constantly. And like I say, it's a sensory overload, so it's audio overload as well. The German version is really, really good. I don't think there's anything wrong with the sound on the UK disc as it goes. The sound is really good here because there's, to be honest, literally every frame of this film there's something blowing the doors off. It really is really powerful stuff. Now, I don't think this is like, a full-on Dolby Atmos, perfect, restoration or remaster of the audio, which I'd love someone to do of the sound. But you get everything that Bigelow intended here. You feel like you're having your ears pinned back. You feel like you're getting Alex Ferguson's hairdryer treatment as this film just blasts out at you, and the sound gets all of that across and holds it all together. You don't start to get kind of blurs of sound. So it's very good. I would recommend it. So overall, God, I love this film. I love Kathryn Bigelow. I love this film. It's wild. It's over the top. It gets out of control at times. Not all of it works. One or two character motivations like Faith are a bit unclear. But what am I even nitpicking for? This is just such an amazing experience from beginning to end. It's over 2 hours, 20 minutes of absolutely wild stuff, and you can see that it's kind of riffing on the state of LA after the Rodney King incident and the LA riots. Kathryn Bigelow is very good at kind of showing up, governments and the police, pushing things to a limit. You could watch something like Detroit and see something similar, but this is her in full wild, crazy 90s mode. If you like the wild speeches and over-the-top action of Point Break, this is her just going more than that. But it's got like a strong message and a great story, and visually and sound, it's absolutely stunning. Angela Bassett's never been better, never looked better. Ralph Fiennes is really good. He's kind of got an oddly sensitive side, which is weird for like an ex-vice cop. It's not the kind of role you normally expect him to play, and notwithstanding a couple of wobbles in his accent, I think he's a really good choice for the character because you see everything that's going on with him, everything that he's feeling is there under the surface as he goes through. Just honestly, there is nothing else like this film. I absolutely love it. Everyone needs to watch this film, okay? You might not like it. I don't care if you like it. You just have to watch it. This is just such a good film. So I'm going to rave about it, and you're just going to say, okay, I'll watch it, and that's what I want. You've got to go and get this film. It's just brilliant. That kind of leads into my sort of final point about whether it's an essential purchase. It so is. Some version of this film has to be, because it's not on streaming. The algorithm has decided that this film, with everything that's going the prophecies of user uploaded video and virtual reality and the state of the streets and riots and politics and a polarized society, apparently that's not worth watching nowadays. But fuck the algorithm. This is a film you need to watch. This is a film you need someone to recommend to you and you go out to see. You don't like it, there's still a conversation to be had about it. So yes, it's an essential purchase. It's really quite important to buy this film, because you're not going to find it anywhere unless you go looking for it and buy it. The British Blu Ray, that's not essential, but if you're not interested or can't get hold of a German one and you want the special features, it's still good. Get the German one. It's only like £1 more than, you're talking about under £10 for this Blu Ray. I think it's a pretty decent value for money for such good film. So yes, some version of this is an essential purchase. I'm saying so out of the available options because I would love someone to give this like a fully sort of, remastered, restored release. We've just gone past the 30th anniversary. When are they going to do it? They should just do it. I'd love to see something like Arrow Video just really go back over this, see what they can do with modern 4K technology and give it an absolutely blistering sort of remaster and restore both on the audio and the video to just bring out the absolute best of this film. But I don't know if that's ever going to happen because this film was a huge flop when it came out. It's a little bit unloved. So I would say, next time you have an Amazon voucher or a bit of money or an online discount code, if you're not convinced that you should absolutely go and buy it, consider this film because it really is, I think, one of the most essential purchases of films from the 1990s. So that was Strange Days. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope I didn't get a bit crazy for you and put you off. Please do check out other episodes of Maximum Disc that we've done. There's various things we've done, from Close Encounters to French films like Diva and the Dune films. There's something for everyone, I hope. If you like this chat about physical media, please do check out the podcast, and ways to find Double Reel and our socials will be on the screen in a moment. But either way, I hope to see you for more physical media chat sometime soon, right here on Maximum Disc. The Maximum Disc YouTube channel is brought to you by Double Reel, the monthly magazine podcast for the discerning film nerd. If you like our celebration of physical media, please check out the podcast for more chat about the films we love and hate.